Coming in at number 10, we have Damian Wayne, the son of Batman. Genetically engineered and grown in an artificial womb following a night of passion between Talia al Ghul and Bruce Wayne, Damian was intended by the villain Ra's al Ghul to be his ultimate successor as the ruler of the League of Shadows. Trained to be an assassin from an incredibly young age, Batman wasn't even aware he had a son until the boy was 10 years old and left in his care by Talia. And while initially the father and son combo had some issues sorting out their issues and Damian's stance on Batman's whole no-killing rule, Damian has since become an important member of the Bat family as the fifth Robin and continues to be an essential ally of Batman to this day. Coming in at number 9, we have Shane Johns, the son of Martian Manhunter and Hawkgirl from an alternate future. While attempting to find a way to prevent Lex Luthor from unleashing the Dark Goddess Perpetua, the Justice League found themselves traveling through a six-dimensional doorway to a future where the forces of good had seemingly finally won their constant battle with the forces of evil. All of the members of the Justice League seemed to have found happiness, especially Hawkgirl and Martian Manhunter, who had an ambitious young son named Shane. Unfortunately, this reality turned out to all be a ruse by the World Forger, but in a weird twist, Shane still decided to ally himself with the real Justice League, and used his incredibly strong psychic abilities to help save the day. That'll do, kid. That'll do. Coming in at number 8, we have Cube, Cyborg's son from a dark possible future. Hailing from a world where a force known as the Darkness has threatened to corrupt all of the Earth's heroes, Cube's real name is George Marvin Stone. The son of Cyborg, Cube is literally a human mother box, connected down at the DNA level to one of the most iconic objects in the entire DC universe. Because of this complete integration with alien technology, Cube is able to perform all of the tech-based powers that his father has, alongside being capable of generating his own teleporting boom tubes whenever he wants. With all of those powers combined, Cube is definitely a cyborg you don't want to mess with.
Number 7, Supergirl, Kara Zor-El. Much like how Krypto was sent to Earth, Superman's older cousin, Kara Zor-El, was also sent to Earth. She was sent from the dying planet Krypton to protect Clark Kent. Well, rather Kal-El, but of course, as fate would have it, she was knocked off course by the explosion of her home planet. What a bummer. So she ended up in the Phantom Zone, of course. Now in the Phantom Zone, you can stay there for decades and not age at all. Your skin would look fantastic. That's actually what Kara did. So after her pod finally escaped, she landed on Earth and soon joined the Danvers family. Now of course, if you want to see her in action, you can catch the hit show Supergirl. Only 3 different actors have played her, the most recent and current run being portrayed by Melissa Benoist. So if you start binging it now, you can actually probably catch up for when the 6th and final season airs sometime next year when the world starts to be cool again. But if you want to start reading her from her comic book origins, you can find her first debut in Action Comics issue 252. And also, of course, the Justice League United issue 2. That's when things start cooking. Number 6, Fire. Beatriz da Costa is a founding member of the Justice League International. She made her first comic book appearance in DC Comics Presents, issue number 46. She started off as an amateur model, like we all do, in Brazil, and then became a showgirl and stage performer, and eventually she became an undercover secret agent for the Brazilian government. That's usually how it happens, right? I mean, I'm trying the exact same career path right now. I'm hoping Brazilian undercover agent is next. Checking my emails. So close. One of these missions, she was actually exposed to a pyroplasmic explosion. See the name Fire, you know, it's starting to make more sense now, eh? I gotcha. This caused her to obtain some superhuman powers, and at first sported the name Green Fury. And before the Justice League, she joined Global Guardians. Then along comes the Justice League International, and her and Ice Maiden decided to go and apply for this job. This was after Black Canary's resignation, and at this point, some members were being abducted. So the Justice League took them on, sporting the new, and I would say improved names, Fire and of course, Ice. Number 5, Booster Gold, aka Michael John Carter. There's the link. Picking up in Justice League International Volume 3, we find Booster Gold as somebody who craves attention, as we all do, but a leader that was controllable nonetheless. So he became a superhero after saving the life of President Ronald Reagan, using technology from the 25th century. Yeah, that ought to do it. Of course, after doing something like that on your first mission, you would get a high from that fame. Like, you can't top that, come on. Naturally, he became quite wealthy, and that is until his manager stole like all of his money. You gotta ride solo, people. Keep your stuff in your mattress. Keep your cash in your mats. I don't know, weird. In the revamped Justice League International in the late 80s, Booster was a main member. He got close with the Blue Beetle, Ted Kord, and they did some pretty funny missions together. Booster's suit was destroyed while fighting Doomsday, so good guy Ted Kord comes in and builds him a new suit. What a good friend. I don't have friends like that. Then while battling Overmaster, he lost that suit, and this time he also lost his arm. In comes good guy Ted Kord again, this time a new cybernetic arm to go along with it. I want a cool suit. All my friends give me are excuses. Number 4, Simon Baz. He's a Lebanese American born in Dearborn, Michigan. After seeing the attacks of the World Trade Center on the news when he was just 10 years old, he and his family faced ostracism because they were Muslim. His sister was even getting bullied and physically attacked, so Simon would have to intervene. Now, as the years went on, he got an engineering degree and shortly after that, a job at an automotive plant. After the financial crisis hit, he was let go and had to resort to stealing cars and then reselling the parts just to make ends meet. He was also a great street racer and even made some dough that way as well on the side. Accidentally stealing a truck filled with explosives, Simon ends up getting arrested and they suspect him as a terrorist, sending him over to Guantanamo Bay. Ignoring his pleas of innocence, Simon was nearly tortured. It was then a Green Lantern ring popped into the room to save the day, removing him from the facility. And what makes Simon stand out besides his strong origin story is that he has emerald sight. That's right, Simon Baz can see glimpses of the future. He also used to carry a gun with him even while wielding the Green Lantern ring. Why? Because he didn't trust a whole lot of people, obviously, and he wanted a backup in case the ring failed him, which it did a couple of times. We can find more of this reserve member of the Justice League in Justice League of America, Volume 3, Issue 5. Number 3, Captain Atom. Nathaniel Atom making his first appearance in Captain Atom Volume 2, Issue 1. Nathaniel Atom was an Air Force officer in the United States during Vietnam, and after being framed for a crime he did not commit, he was sentenced to death under the watch of Wade Eiling. Now, of course, he didn't want to be executed, so instead he was asked to be part of an experiment that had little chance of survival. I would take that risk. I'm a gambling man myself. The test is just wild. They had the hull of a crashed alien ship and wanted to see how tough it was. So they strapped a nuclear bomb underneath it while our boy Adam was still in the ship. That must be an odd waiting time. I wonder how that feels, just sitting there like, hope it works. Turns out it felt pretty badass considering the alien metal melted to him, and then he shot forward in time by 20 years. Sweet. So Captain Atom, a rather fitting name, joined the Justice League and eventually served as the leader of the Justice League Europe. We can find him front and center in Justice League International, numero 7. Go check it out. Number 2, Steel. John Henry Irons, making his first debut back in '93 in Adventures of Superman issue 500. And after the world lost Superman, John Henry Irons tried to take the Man of Steel's place by using a high-tech suit made of armor. Then once Superman came back, he was simply just referred to as Steel. I mean, OG Man's back in town, you gotta change the nickname. Batman made the conclusion that the Justice League was full of brawn and needed a bit more brains. And boop, Steel has entered the chat. Steel crushed it too. He helped defeat Prometheus and the Queen Bee, and he led the reserve team as well, which included Huntress, Barda, Zuriel, and Plastic Man. He kills it. And finally, at number 1, we have Dr. Light, Kimio Hoshi. Making her first appearance in Crisis on Infinite Earths, issue 4, Kimio Hoshi was a supervising astronomer working in an observatory in Japan. She helped her co-workers as they were following a mysterious phenomenon, and they were watching its path. They were actually so afraid of this thing that she had to make them leave just so she could focus and study this thing in peace. The Monitor felt threatened from the Anti-Monitor absorbing parallel Earths, of course. So he created a champion. You see where I'm going already. So he sent a beam of energy from the Vega star down to Earth, where it met Kimio. Now she obtained the powers of photonics, and the cool name came along with it as well. She was a member of the Justice League a few times, even the Justice League Europe. And following Infinite Crisis after her powers were returned, Oracle invited Kimio to join the Birds of Prey. But after she didn't make the cut on their first mission, she found her more suitable location with the Justice League instead. Kicking off the list at number 10, Jade, aka Jennifer Lynn Hayden. She made her comic book debut in All-Star Squadron issue 25 back in 1983. She is the daughter of Green Lantern, Alan Scott, and Rose Canton, aka Thorn. Now after conceiving their children, Rose fled, fearing that she would harm them, right? So she gave them up for adoption and they were separated. Jenny Lynn, aka Jade, was adopted by a couple in Milwaukee in the suburbs. She didn't know she had a twin brother until her late teens. Surprise, nice. Once the two of them met up, they tried to join the Justice Society, but were rejected. But have no fear, the two of them joined other children of Justice Society and then formed Infinity Inc. And then Jade's powers are of course similar to her father's due to his exposure to magical energies. She's able to generate green energy and shape it into constructs according to her will, right? We all knew this. The sibling bond is a strong one. Jade and Todd both can communicate through a limited form of telepathy. It's a twin thing, you know? And guys, before we continue on to number 9, if you haven't already, go ahead and give us a thumbs up because it really goes a long way for us here at our Bat Cave. Also, huge news, we have another channel coming back after 3 years of running the show over here. Landon himself. He's not here, but if he was, he would be there. Landon himself is coming back with Landon Productions, premiering December 7th. So go and follow and then turn on your notifications because you don't want to miss what he's got coming. I've seen glimpses of it here at the studio and I'm pumped. Let's do it.
Is the Canada Goose gonna take it on?
I'm on top like I'm goddamn Mario, right? I'm just
Not today. Maybe tomorrow. Okay, is this real life right now?
Number 9, Zatanna. Appearing for the first time in Hawkman issue 4 back in 1964, Zatanna is the daughter of Zatara. She's a stage magician and she's really good. Like, really good, because you know, she has actual magic abilities. So she makes a pretty decent amount of money with these shows, which makes sense. I mean, if I had these powers, I would do the exact same thing. David Blaine who? Bye. Her father helped out the Justice Society and the Justice League of America numerous times. He was like the magic guy on the team, although Zatanna got the official membership. She gets her deeds done by speaking her spells backwards. Her mother is quite noteworthy as well, I'd say. So Zatanna thought she had died in a car crash after her birth, but actually she's a Homo Magi, a race of magical humans that coexisted alongside Homo sapiens. And her name is Cindella. She's from another dimension. How neat. The classic made you think I was in a car accident so I can fulfill my destiny with my own magical species scenario. Nice, classic. We've all been there. Number 8, Lord Chaos. Making his debut in New Titans Annual issue 7 back in 1991, Lord Chaos is the son of Donna Troy and Terry Long. Now, Donna Troy may have a pretty confusing backstory, but her son, Robert Long, isn't as crazy. So let me explain. He was born with the powers of a god, right? So with that, he ended up going a little bit mad, right? A little bit crooked. So he ages himself, kills his own mother, and then of course becomes the dictator known as Lord Chaos. Nice, dude. Awesome. Great plan. Yeah, his name sounded evil for a reason, so you were onto something. Inspired by the original Titans team, a group of super teens going by the name Teen Titans go back in time to kill Donna before Lord Chaos, the now evil world conquering god, was born. Not a bad idea. We love time travel, let's do it. But here's the fun part, Lord Chaos goes back with them in order to prevent them from killing his mother / him. Gotcha, there he goes. So Robert was still born, but thankfully the Titans of Myth stepped in and stripped the mother and child of these godlike powers. The Titans of Myth bringing along Lord Chaos, stating he will either learn or cease to be. Learn or cease to be. This sounds like my grade 12 math teacher. He'll either learn or he'll cease to be. Now look at me, ceasing to be. Sorry, Mr. Lake. Number 7, Maxine Baker. The daughter of Buddy Baker, aka Animal Man, has quite the abilities. In the pre-Flashpoint era, Maxine Baker wasn't a huge character, right? But she of course picked up some of the powers from her father, those powers being the ability to tap into the life web and control it. And with the new 52, Maxine got bigger and badder. She became the avatar of the Red, which sounds a lot cooler already. I mean, come on. The Red is another name for the life web. So Maxine can control every animal on Earth as well. And that's not all. She's super powerful, guys. She can also control the elements and create this Eldritch Blast. It's no wonder most of the time people are trying to get a handle on her powers. I mean, even she struggles with them. Controlling animals would be a sweet gig, eh? Imagine the practical jokes. Oh my god. Number 6, Thunder. Making her first appearance in Outsiders Volume 3, Issue 1, Thunder is the daughter of Black Lightning and Lynn Stewart. So Anissa Pierce had a pretty nice deal with her father, okay? The deal was that if she graduated from college, only then can she consider a career in crime fighting. And the night of her graduation, that is exactly when she donned the costume. It didn't take long for her to get approached by Red Arrow, who offered her a position in the Outsiders. Her father's like, no, you have to resign from these crazy people. I don't like this. And of course she said, no way, Jose. And then, when Saavik came sniffing around again, her father actually helped the team out and her. And this was a cool time. This was the first time they had actually seen each other in action. What a moment that would be, eh? So Anissa was trained by Nightwing in combat. Nice. She's a trained doctor. Nice, hence the whole education before kicking ass deal. That plus her abilities to increase the mass of her body and become like immovable and super strength. Look out, you're toast.
Coming in at number 5, we have Terry McGinnis, aka the next Batman. Originally appearing in the beloved animated series Batman Beyond, Terry was the sarcastic and wisecracking next-generation Batman in a dystopian future Gotham, led by an elderly and retired Bruce Wayne. However, unlike Nightwing, Terry's connection to Bruce wound up being more than just as an adoptive father, as it was eventually revealed that Bruce Wayne is biologically Terry's father, as Terry's actual dad had his genetics replaced by those of Bruce Wayne, essentially making the two heroes related. Even without this connection though, Terry McGinnis stood out as a worthy successor to Batman, developing his own iconic rogues gallery and even being able to defeat villains that the original Batman never could, such as the Joker. Coming in at number 4, we have Hunter Prince, the potential future son of Wonder Woman. In the same dark future that Cyborg's son Cube hailed from, Wonder Woman was one of the first heroes to be infected by the darkness, giving birth to a son that could become an even more powerful vessel for the villain. Wonder Woman gave the boy up to Superman and Lois Lane, hoping that they would be able to prevent her son from going to the dark side, but unfortunately, Hunter believed his mother was giving him up because he was male, as was Amazonian custom. Growing up angry at the previous generation that had failed him, Hunter possessed all of the strengths of Wonder Woman, including her lasso of truth and bracelets of submission, making him a truly powerful and angry enemy. Coming in at number 3, we have 2 for the price of 1 with the Tornado Twins, the potential villainous children of the Flash. Born in the 30th century when Barry Allen had briefly retired there with Iris West, these versions of the twins grew up without a father, as Barry was believed to be dead and never returned to that timeline following the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Filling the place of Barry in his absence was unfortunately the Reverse Flash, a villain dead set on ruining Barry's life and creations in any way possible, and turning Barry's twin children into supervillains was right up his evil alley. Having since become members of the Legion of Zoom, a collective of speed-based villains, Dawn and Dawn Allen have the full power of the Speed Force at their disposal, making them incredibly powerful and incredibly dangerous. Coming in at number 2, we have Hyperman, a distant future version of the potential son of the Man of Steel. In the same reality where the storyline Kingdom Come took place, the young son of this reality Superman, Jonathan Kent, was kidnapped by the villain known as Gog and encased first in a prison of kryptonite and then trapped within the weird branch of reality known as Hypertime. Luckily, someone was there to watch over the infant, his own future self, a hero known as Hyperman that was destined to become even greater than Superman. The baby was eventually able to be saved through the joint efforts of the Kingdom Come universe and the main DC universe's heroes, and the Kingdom Come parents of this child are now determined to make sure that Hyperman's bright future becomes a reality. And finally, coming in at our top spot, we have John Kent, the true son of Superman. Half Kryptonian and half human, John Kent was the most recent hero to take up the mantle of Superboy, using everything he'd learned from his parents, Clark Kent and Lois Lane, to be an inspiring force for the people of Earth. Aging quicker than usual due to weird time travel and reality-hopping hijinks, John Kent has since become the new Superman, taking over his father's position as the defender of truth, justice, and a better tomorrow, and trying to find his own place in the growing DC Omniverse. And to make things even more interesting, Batman has even theorized after examining John's DNA that the unique combination of human and Kryptonian genetics in his blood might mean that he could surpass even his own father when it comes to power once he's fully grown. All of this is to say that John Kent is, in my opinion, the most powerful son of the Justice League.
Number 10. Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel was once Carol Danvers and is now Kamala Khan. And of course for this list we're focusing on Kamala, who was a new addition to the Avengers team in 2015, after making her first unnamed appearance only 2 years earlier in 2013 in the comics. Kamala is a huge Carol Danvers fan, which is what inspired her to take up the mantle Miss Marvel after Carol dropped it, taking up the Captain Marvel mantle instead herself. Kamala as Miss Marvel has powers which allow her to alter her body's physiology, allowing her to stretch, change size and shape, and in theory, straight up shapeshift. Her powers come from inhuman heritage, which was activated by her exposure to the Terrigen bomb. Kamala joined the team for a time during all new, all different Avengers, and remains a fan favorite hero at Marvel Comics. And to clarify before we move on to point 9, this is going to be a list of Avengers that have recently come onto the team, as opposed to new Avengers, which is kind of its own thing. There's a lot of new Avengers, so I just want to clarify that. Number 9. Wasp. Not the same Wasp who years ago was actually the leader of the Avengers for a while. Nuh-uh, we are not talking about Janet Van Dyne here, we are talking about Nadia Van Dyne, who despite her seemingly misleading name is actually the daughter of Hank Pym and his first wife, Maria Travoia. After her mother Maria was kidnapped and later killed, Nadia ended up being raised in the Red Room, considered a valuable asset due to her natural aptitude for science and academia, believed to be somewhat in part due to the fact that she was Hank's naturally born daughter. Nadia would eventually escape the Red Room and attempt to locate her father in the US, only to find out that he had recently died during a fight against Ultron. Nadia felt compelled to meet her stepmother, Janet, desiring to become the new Wasp. The two ended up getting along well, and Janet even gave Nadia her blessing to take her last name, seeing her as family. Hence, Nadia became both Nadia Van Dyne and the new Wasp, also going on to join the Avengers team. Number 8. Spider-Man. Peter Parker as Spider-Man has of course teamed up with the Avengers before, but Miles Morales as Spider-Man is a newer addition, not just in terms of the Avengers team, but also still relatively new in terms of him existing in 616. Miles Morales is originally a Spider-Man who hails from the Ultimate Comics line originating in Earth 1610, the Ultimate Universe. He was given a new home on Earth 616 after his world had been destroyed as a result of showing kindness to and sharing food with Molecule Man during the Secret Wars event. True story. Thank goodness for pocket cheeseburgers. Miles has a power set very similar to Peter's in many ways, but also has a few unique abilities of his own. He can shock his opponents with venom blasts and can sneak up on them with his spider camouflage, which he can use to appear invisible. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want to learn about even more newest additions to the Avengers we've seen in recent years, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Number 7. Valkyrie. Valkyrie is Jane Foster, who was originally known as Thor when she joined the Avengers team the first time around. Jane ended up becoming the new Thor after Thor Odinson, the original Thor, was deemed unworthy. As the new Mighty Thor, editorially referred to at times as Lady Thor, Jane joined the Avengers team in the all-new, all-different Avengers series in 2015. Currently in the comics, Jane is no longer the Mighty Thor, but was welcomed into Asgardia by Odin, who gave her a new title and power set, making her a new Valkyrie. To clarify, I'm saying Asgardia because she was kind of like welcome to the whole world of Asgard, but she didn't go live on Asgard or anything specific like that. Currently, Valkyrie is the mantle that she uses. Being imbued with the spirit of Valkyrie Brunhilde gives Jane the strength and power set of an Asgardian warrior. In addition, there are specific powers that are also granted to Valkyries like herself. She can teleport, has death perception, and can see ghosts, in addition to being a super strong and capable fighter. Number 6. Starbrand. I kinda miss when Brandy was just like a little Starbrand baby. But of course, this is comics and heroes can't stay babies forever. In fact, they can't even stay a baby for more than a year apparently. Especially if they're joining the Avengers, which I kinda get. Technically, the young Starbrand, Baby Selby, later given the first name Brandy, was in the care of the Avengers. Not really specifically on the team, kinda sorta like their ward. But despite being one of the youngest heroes to ever be affiliated with that team, this little Starbrand also would often help the team out on missions missions, being so insanely powerful. Starbrand possesses the Star Brand, which grants her a great amount of basically cosmic power. She is capable of interstellar flight and flight in general, energy manipulation and projection, creating energy blasts, and technically should also be super durable and have some level of healing factor. The Star Brand's power is believed to be potentially infinite when it comes to their power levels, making Starbrand one of the most powerful members on the team, in baby form, child form, or young adult form as she currently is as of the end of issue 52 of the current 2018 Avengers series.
In at number 5, Power Man. His real name is Victor Alvarez, and he was born and raised in the brutal world of Hell's Kitchen, New York City. As a child, Victor's father was a criminal and therefore sent to Seagate Prison as a result, so he didn't exactly have great role models per se, other than his mother that raised him. After the Mighty Avengers were shut down, Power Man along with White Tiger followed each other to join the newly rebranded AIM team, which would in part become the New Avengers. Victor would fight side by side with this team for many adventures, but ultimately he felt that he was neglecting his home neighborhood for far too long. So we may not see much of Victor Alvarez in terms of MCU, but he definitely had a great stint with the New Avengers, and maybe he'll come back, who knows. Just speculation. In at number 4, Wiccan. Billy Kaplan had an interaction with the Avengers at a very early age. While he was dealing with bullies at his school, Billy turned to the Avengers mansion in seek of help. He briefly met his hero, the Scarlet Witch, who told him that he could take care of himself, and boy oh boy did he take care of himself. I mean, Billy chose to stand up to his bully right when his electrokinetic powers started to emerge. With powers like this, he was already set to follow in the footsteps of Doctor Strange, becoming the next Sorcerer Supreme. In the comic books at least, Kaplan and Strange meet when Doctor Strange enters a dimension wherein all past, present, and future sorcerers have gathered. Aside from that, Kaplan was a full-time superhero as part of Roberto's team of New Avengers. In at number 3, Kate Bishop. Much like how Billy Kaplan was following in the footsteps of Doctor Strange, Kate Bishop was the third character in the Marvel comic books to take on the Hawkeye mantle following Clint Barton. Allegedly, she will also be a featured character in the upcoming Disney Plus series Hawkeye, which makes perfect sense if you're priming her character to join the New Avengers. Throughout these series, it's believed that Barton will train Kate Bishop following the events of Endgame. Seeing as though he's become Ronin, this leaves the Hawkeye position wide open. Some have also speculated that Lila Barton will essentially be the new Kate Bishop, but at the end of the day, that's up to Marvel's writing team. In at number 2, Iron Lad. With the introduction of Harley Keener in Iron Man 3 and then a brief appearance at the funeral in Endgame, it's clear that they were warming audiences up for Iron Lad. Especially considering the brave sacrifice that Tony Stark made, the opening for the next Iron Man is available and the only possible prospect to fill in is Harley. Now clearly the comic books are much different than the storyline that the MCU is putting forth, but they rarely do stuff like this for no good reason. So with that in mind and all of the advanced tech that we saw Harley working on as a kid, it's clear to see that Iron Lad will be one of the newest Avengers. Last but not least, on our number 1 spot, Shang-Chi. From the moment Shang was born, he would be raised to become a deadly assassin by his father. Even in his sleep, he would be subjected to alchemy and a virtual reality feed that taught techniques while he slept. Following the events of Avengers vs. X-Men, Captain America and Iron Man were looking at expanding their team to make it bigger and stronger than ever before. This saw the addition of Shang-Chi, who was one of the first picks for this new Avengers initiative. In terms of the MCU, he is already set to star in his own solo film called Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Kicking off the list at number 10, we have Element Woman. Making her debut in Flashpoint Volume 2, Issue 1, she was actually recruited by Cyborg to help prevent an upcoming war between Wonder Woman, Amazon's crew, versus the Aquaman and Atlantean's crew that was destroying Europe. So she tries to help out, but Shade, the changing man, uses his M-Vest to reveal that Element Woman, Emily Sung, was insane. Awesome, okay cool, way to expose our girl. So Cyborg recruited Emily and other metahumans, and the Justice League figured Element Woman was too powerful to not include in the fun. Come on, you gotta get her in there. Alongside Firestorm and Atom. Like Metamorpho's power, Element Woman could transform into any of the elements found in the human body, and then craft them how she pleases. She uses the metal to change your hair colors, which I wish I could use. Although my hair is already going white. That's great. And before we continue on, guys, if you could go ahead and toss us a thumbs up on this video, because it does help us out quite a bit at the studio. Thank you so very much. You guys rock. Now back to some other Justice League members. Number 9, Mera. Making her first appearance in Aquaman issue 11, Mera has taken the place of Aquaman temporarily. See, Mera was on her way to break through the Crown of Thorns, the invisible magic barrier that had surrounded Atlantis, but before this though, she had thought that Aquaman had died by Atlantean soldiers. She even mourned him at the Curry Lighthouse. So she started attacking the Crown of Thorns. She was pissed, makes sense, and while doing so, she actually created these massive tidal waves. So the Justice League came in, and after the battle, she started to calm down. She realized she was putting like a lot of civilians at risk with these tidal waves. Like one time I had a temper tantrum at the zoo when I was like 3. Straight up just hucked my ice cream cone and it went right over some guy's sneakers. Poor dude. I'll never forget my actions. Horrible, horrible actions. Batman didn't approach me and ask me to be on the Justice League afterwards, but Mara, she was lucky enough to get that, so. She then served as the temporary replacement for Aquaman. Not a bad gig. Number 8, Martian Manhunter. Your kind will fail, your kind will always fail. Those are some of the last words spoken by Martian Manhunter in Final Crisis 1 after he gets trapped in a prison. See, he had originally went there to be undercover as John Jones and regularly would report back to Batman, right? That's a pretty good crew. Then the villains broke free and he was left behind. Not good. So Human Flame had given the villain Libra instructions to kill Martian Manhunter. So Libra went and stabbed Martian Manhunter with a staff in front of the entire secret society of supervillains, and upon his death, he returned back to his Martian form. And in his final moments, he still managed to do his job and send a message back to the Justice League. That's a devoted member right there. And they held his funeral on his home planet Mars with Superman giving the eulogy. So when I die, hopefully Superman will do mine. No, it's probably gonna be someone boring. Sorry, my family's boring. You can find his Justice League time between Justice League Volume 2 and issues 6 and 7. Pretty sweet, check it out.
Coming in at number 7, we have Zod, the born in a lab spawn of an evil Superman and Wonder Woman from the world of the Justice Lords. Named after one of Superman's most iconic villains, this Zod was born on a world where Superman turned to the dark side and turned the Justice League into the Justice Lords following the death of their universe's Flash. Unfortunately, following the birth of Zod, the baby was kidnapped by a Brainiac from another universe and locked away in the Phantom Zone, which is probably the least ideal place possible to raise a child. With both Kryptonian and Amazonian blood flowing through his veins, Zod was beyond dangerous even if he just remained a little kid. Coming in at number 6, we have Nightwing, the adopted son of Batman and the very first Robin. While not biologically a child of the Justice League, Dick Grayson has been by Batman's side since nearly the very beginning, essentially adopted by Bruce Wayne following the death of his circus performer parents, and becoming the very first Robin, the Boy Wonder. Since then, Dick Grayson has accomplished a lot, helping found the Teen Titans, establishing his own superhero identity as Nightwing, and even briefly taking over the position of Batman on a few occasions where Bruce Wayne was incapable of performing the role. No matter what the future of the DC Universe brings, Nightwing will always be an incredible fan favorite.
Number 5, Dawn Allen. You can probably guess this one by the name, yes. The daughter of super speedster Barry Allen, aka The Flash. She made her comic book debut with Adventure Comics 373. She's a fun one. She's actually born in the future, during the first crisis. See, this was in the 30th century before the Legion stuff in the 31st century, right? So they had to hide their powers. They also go by the name of the Tornado Twins for good reason. They both obtained a small amount of super speed from Barry. So they rescued Wally West and it was so badass, like they knew what they were doing. Just because they aren't as fast doesn't mean that they don't know how to get the job done. So the twins worked side by side and when they combined their efforts, they were unstoppable. I mean, just these two crazy tornadoes coming at you. I mean, can you be more intimidating? I don't know. Number 4, Bruce Wayne Jr. He's part of the Super Sons, so I have to include him in this list, obviously. Bruce Wayne Jr. We go on over to the 1965 version of Bruce Wayne Jr. making his debut in World's Finest, issue 154. He's the son of Catherine Kane, and as you could have guessed, Bruce Wayne Sr. Yep. He's part of a duo called the Super Sons, and that name is pretty perfect for the gig. Definitely belongs here. Cited by Superman Jr., the two grew up together. I mean, the opening of their issues show them both reading up about their dads and all their crazy achievements. They even get married on the same day. I mean, these are life goals. I mean, I hope me and my super buddies do this one day. Or just me and my buddies get married one day, that'd be nice. My favorite part is seeing the two interact, right? Like Superman's powers, there's one point where Superman's not letting baby Batman down from a teeter-totter. And he's like, nah, I'm not letting you down till you admit that my dad's cooler than yours. And he's like, alright, I guess. And comes back down all shameful. Bruce Wayne Jr. actually grew up forgetting about his father's identity somehow, and then when he was reminded of it, he tried to capture a crook while disguised as Batman. I mean, yeah, if my dad was like, hey, I'm Batman, I'd be like, okay, what size is that? I can probably squeeze in there. It didn't go well for him, the first shot. He didn't gather any evidence. He just went in raw. It wasn't great. So after an argument with his father, Bruce Jr. left to meet up with his other man, Clark Kent Jr. See, they're homies. They don't go too far for a reason. I would watch a buddy cop show with these two just saving people and smashing things up, but they have to be kids. They have to be moody little kids, and they have to require little super naps in the middle of heated battles. That's the deal. Number 3, the Huntress. First appearing in All-Star Comics issue 69 back in 1977, Helena is a lawyer for Cranston, Grayson, and Wayne, but of course, that's not all. Earth 2 is home to the daughter of an older Batman and Catwoman. That's right, when she was only 19 years old, her mother, Selina Kyle, now a retired Catwoman, in the future, died in a tragic mishap, right? Now, to add insult to injury, this henchman, Silky Cernak, was the reason behind this photo that just popped up that shows Selina Kyle as Catwoman murdering a police officer. Not a great photo, not cool. If TMZ was around, they'd be like, oh my god, trending, BuzzFeed, let's do it. This is wild, right? So of course, Helena was upset and wanted to make things right. So she took a page out of her parents' book and became the Huntress. She went after Silky Smooth Cernak and got him arrested. Awesome. Her mother ended up being okay after all. Don't worry, yeah, it turns out she didn't even kill anybody. The photo was tampered with the whole time. Bad guys doing bad stuff. She kept the suit and eventually wound up on the Justice Society of America. See, if you want the truth, kids, you just gotta get a super suit and, wrap some dudes in nets. It's easy. Just make them talk. It's easy. Number 2, Dina Drake, Black Canary. Flower shop owner by day, superhero at night. The classic life thing. She would work alongside Larry Lance before marrying him. How cute. I mean, he died by the hands of Aquarius, and then that forced Dina to move from Earth 2 to Earth 1 to start a new life, but cute nonetheless. But have no fear, it was in doing this that she met Green Arrow, and they of course hit it off. She has this really awesome ability called the Canary Cry, which is what I do when I, don't get what I want. Where basically she just screams really loud, knocking back her foes. It's a great combo with her fighting skills. Her origins are a little confusing. So before the Crisis storyline, there was a 1983 issue that had Starman taking Black Canary to the Thunderbolt dimension, okay? Where she sees a coffin containing Larry Lance and herself. Yeah, here's the scoop. So in the Justice League of America issue 220, it's revealed that Dina and Lance gave birth to a daughter. That daughter was cursed by a magician. The curse being that the child has an ear-piercing scream, so this baby was brought to the Thunderbolt dimension and then was made to believe that her parents were dead. And finally, number 1, Superboy, also known as Connor Kent or Con-El, made his debut in 1993 Adventures of Superman issue 500. So Superboy was created to essentially be a replacement for Superman, right? And they didn't ask me, how rude. So after Superman died fighting Doomsday, knocking him out, Project Cadmus then used Kryptonian DNA to make Superboy. So he's the son of both Lex Luthor and Clark Kent. What a weird combo. They wanted a new hero, they wanted to feel safe, so why not just make a clone of Superman? Easy peasy, right? It sounds fine. Cadmus wasn't able to get Superman's DNA, so they grabbed a human clone, made it look like him, and it turns out if you put a clone near the grave of a dead superhero, you absorb some powers. So Superman's bioelectric aura was absorbed by the clone and thus was given tactile telekinesis, which means you can simulate the powers of Superman for a small amount of time. He even rocked a high-tech visor to solve that problem, He was cool looking, he knew what he was doing. The Metropolis kid wasn't a fan of being called Superboy also, so watch your mouth out there.
And at 10, Ian Rogers. When Steve Rogers got trapped in Dimension Z, he rescued a baby boy while he was trapped there. Since time moves faster in that dimension though, he ended up raising the boy for over 10 years. Sharon Carter ended up raising him for the remainder of his childhood when she was also trapped in Dimension Z after going there to rescue Steve. The boy was the son of Armin Zola, but he saw Steve Rogers and Sharon Carter as his parents. His birth name was Leopold Zola, but he goes by Ian Rogers now, the name that his true father gave him. By the time he left Dimension Z, Ian was a full-grown adult. He then took on the name Nomad and partnered with Sam Wilson. And at 9, Francis Barton. On Earth 555326, also known as the Next Avengers Heroes of Tomorrow universe, Francis Barton was Clint Barton's son, who raised him to be a hero and helped the rebels known as the Scavengers, and Francis led them around Machine City after his father's death. When the children of the other deceased Avengers, James Rogers, Torrin, Hank Pym Jr., and Osri, arrived, he saved them from Ultron's forces, and James and his siblings siblings followed Francis and the scavengers to their home base. He told them that he was the surviving son of the original Hawkeye. Then Francis became infuriated when he realized that he wasn't the last Avenger, and angrily wondered the whereabouts of the others during his time of desperate survival. James reasoned that they didn't know of his existence, much like their fathers did, and James, the son of Captain America, and Francis often argued. At first he seemed cold and indifferent to his new friends, but as time passed, he showed himself to be just as much of a jokester and a flirt as Clint ever was. Which is kinda weird because they're kids. And it ate Katie Summers. After the Earth was destroyed by a Celestial, survivors moved into another planet. Here, Havoc and Wasp get married and have a child, Catherine Summers. However, she was born a human, not a mutant, and thus would be subjected to persecution in an all-mutant world. Consequently, her existence was kept secret to only her parents and her godfather, Hank McCoy. Years later, Kang appeared and forced Havoc to follow his plan by taking Katie away. Given her connection to the alpha-level mutant Havoc though, if they ever decided to retcon Katie, we can guess that at some point she'd develop a similar power set to Havoc. So if they ever decide to retcon her, she'll be pretty powerful. Havoc absorbs ambient cosmic energy into his cells of his body and processes it into plasma. This results in control over an extremely powerful sort of destructive force. And at times he's not entirely able to control this ability, which sometimes makes him a danger to those around him unless he wears a special containment suit to assist him. Havoc's body is also constantly in the process of absorbing cosmic radiation, so he can basically do it whenever. And given that superhero kids are usually more powerful than their parents, if they ever decide to retcon her, this is gonna be scary, okay? Look, I know that she's a human, but sometimes humans are the most powerful beings. She's also number 8, so chill. And at 7, Osri T'Challa. Osri is the son of Black Panther and Storm. He was taken to safety by Iron Man along with James Rogers, Torrin, and Henry Pym Jr. to keep them all safe from Ultron. Osri, along with his other siblings, only knew of the Avengers through Tony's tales of their former glory days. And as the son of the Black Panther and Storm, Osri inherited their powers and abilities of the heart-shaped herb from his father, enhanced speed, agility, strength, endurance, healing, and senses. He also inherited the powers and abilities of electrokinesis from his mother. One day while he was playing hide and seek with Pym, the Vision arrived at the refuge. Tony tells everyone to wait in James's room until he tells them otherwise. While Osri is fine with waiting, the others aren't, and he fails at convincing them to wait as Tony instructed. When he failed, he and his siblings found a secret entrance to a repair bay under their parents' grave markers. As they searched, they found a room full of Iron Man-style robots who resembled each of their parents. While James and Torrin lingered, Osri and Pym kept moving and managed to find Tony and the strange robot, which is actually the Vision. And then all the Avenger robots end up waking up, and then they go to fight Ultron as their programming intended, so then there's a whole kerfuffle. That's when they meet Francis Barton. And it's 6, Torrin. On Earth 555326, Torrin was the daughter of Thor and Sif. Torrin was taken to safety by Tony Stark alongside the other children to keep them safe from Ultron, and Torrin, like the others, only knew of the Avengers through Tony's stories. She could oftentimes be both arrogant and prideful, but I mean, so could her father. But she has become humble through the learning and of the coping with her mortality, because she is actually mortal. After the arrival of the Vision, Torrin and her siblings got too curious for their own good and revealed the secret entrance, which I just explained. While with James, she found the Iron Avengers, and then they accidentally activated their robots, and their automatic programming sent them to intercept Ultron, in which the Iron Avengers attacked. But the Iron Avengers were assimilated by Ultron, so that's gonna be fun. Look, she may not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but at least she's powerful. She's Thor's daughter. Halfway through in at number 5, Valeria Richards. Valeria Richards is the second son of Dr. Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, and Susan Richards, aka the Invisible Woman, who did serve as Avengers for a couple of missions. Due to her parents being exposed to cosmic radiation and being conceived in the negative zone, it caused her birth to be traumatic. But thanks to her uncle, Dr. Doom, he saved her life using a combination of science and magic. She was born a standard human and developed a genius-level intellect like her father. But as an unborn infant, when she was approaching term, she began to emit bursts of deadly radiation that threatened both her and her mother. Despite bringing in fellow scientists and radiation experts like Bruce Banner, Michael Morbius, and Otto Octavius, Reed Richards was unable to save his daughter, who appeared to be stillborn. Appearances can be deceiving though. Franklin Richards, the couple's first child, felt a deep loss over his sister, because, you know, he didn't have a sister anymore. Unconsciously though, he secretly used his psionic powers to transport this daughter to an alternate reality. After Franklin's cosmic powers were depleted during a battle to save all reality, Valeria reverted to an unborn child within Sue's womb. So all of a sudden, she was pregnant with Valeria again. yeah. Sue then came to term, but again her life was threatened by bursts of radiation from the child. However, this time Johnny Storm enlisted the aid of Dr. Doom, who was able to save her, but not without a price. And at 4, Modi Thorson. In the Ultimate Universe of Earth 1610, when Thor traveled to Valhalla to retrieve the soul of Valkyrie, Hela appeared and told him if he managed to defeat her army that she would revive Valkyrie, but for a price. Thor remained in Valhalla once Valkyrie was revived, but when he requested to be sent back to Earth, Hela once again agreed, but for a price. This time though, it was a child. Thor agreed. Meanwhile on Earth, Amora showed Valkyrie a vision of Thor and Hela making love. Valkyrie didn't realize that he had to do it though, to get back to Earth, but whatever. Thor, after the deed, asked to be sent back to Earth, but Hela requested another price. In a rage, Thor drew his sword and was going to kill Hela before seeing that she was already pregnant. The child, named Modi, eventually joined with the Children of Tomorrow, and when the Children of Tomorrow invaded Asgard, Thor locked Modi in a room without doors to keep him safe, and gave him Mjolnir so that when he was worthy, he would have a way out. Weeks later, but in that room it was years, and after the children had destroyed Washington, an adult Modi broke free of the room, with Mjolnir in his hand. Disguised as the mysterious Mr. Moraz, Modi attempted to usher in another American Civil War by supporting various warring factions in America in order to destroy the country and create a new Asgard from its ashes. He eventually was killed by Thor after using the Mind Stone to control Thor's mind and siding with Hydra, so yeah, not a good kid overall, but still pretty damn powerful. In at 3, Red She-Hulk. A mysterious female version of Red Hulk first appeared when the Red Hulk had gathered a team of mercenaries to hunt down Domino. After this group, called Code Red, not sponsored by Mountain Dew, found Domino, Wolverine slashed his claws across Red Hulk's face, blinding him until his healing factor restored his eyesight. Wolverine was about to deliver the killing blow to Red Hulk when Red She-Hulk appeared, blindsiding him. Red She-Hulk protected Red Hulk long enough in challenging Wolverine. However, just as Red Hulk began to trust Red She-Hulk, she double-crossed him and plunged Elektra's stolen Psy into his neck. Code Red were gathered in the sewers and awaited orders from Samson. Their encounter ended with Red She-Hulk kicking Red Hulk off the Empire State Building. She was then captured by Hank Pym, but her identity was finally revealed when she was stabbed with a sword by Scar and reverted to her human form, revealing her to be Betty, Thaddeus Ross, aka Red Hulk's daughter. And Red She-Hulk has gone toe-to-toe with Hulk in a battle that resulted in both of them dying before being brought back by a wish that Hulk had made earlier. So yeah, pretty powerful. See, I know if someone has tussled with the Hulk to put him higher on this list now since y'all can't let go. But ultimately, and at number 2, Scar. Scar was the progeny of Hulk and Sierra the Old Strong. After Sierra's death, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, a cocoon containing Scar fell into the Lake of Fire. After a period of time, Scar emerged from this cocoon, appearing to be the age of a human boy. A year later, he appeared to have grown into a young adult, and spent time in the swamps with old Sam, who attempted to raise, teach, and guide him after he discovered him shortly after the Shadow People burned tattoos into his skin. It took old Sam months to get him to wear a loincloth and speak, although to be fair, it would have also taken him a few months to get me to wear a loincloth. As the son of the Hulk though, Scar presumably possesses the capacity for vast, if not limitless levels of physical strength among other capabilities, ones which are either fueled by intense anger like his father or via channeling the old power. Once having absorbed 100 trillion tons of kinetic energy from a city to fight the Hulk, he sent Juggernaut flying into space with ease, punching beings miles away, just a lot. And not only that, but thanks to his mother, Scar also possesses the powers of the Shadow People, known as the Old Power, which allows him to connect to and manipulate the planet's energies, basically giving him lava and earthbending skills. Finally, in at number 1, Franklin Richards. Franklin Richards is the son of Reed and Sue Richards of the world-renowned Fantastic Four, who, like I said, were at one point working alongside the Avengers, and who were deemed Avengers for a couple missions, so I'm counting it. Basically, the frickin' Celestials have deemed this kid to be beyond Omega level on the scale of mutant-based powers, so yeah. A future version of Franklin came back to our present and managed to bend Galactus to his will, making Galactus Franklin's herald, which I think speaks for itself. This kid is able to tear the universe apart with a single thought, probably making him the scariest damn toddler on the face of this planet. And that's coming from someone who already thinks toddlers are scary, okay? You should have seen that one kid who tried to stab me with safety scissors. It was certainly an interesting Tuesday afternoon. And in the book History of the Marvel Universe, Franklin Richards is revealed to apparently survive the end of his universe and pass on to the next one, like Galactus did, which is freaking insane. And at 10, Ultron 1320. Ultron 1320 comes to us from Earth 14-622, and What If Age of Ultron number 1, an Earth where thanks to Wasp dying, Ultron is able to take over the world faster. Ultron was created to be the ultimate AI by Hank Pym to help the Avengers utilize their function better as a team. But with the untimely death of Pym's wife, Pym went on to create a more brutal version of Ultron, which was to replace the Avengers, which makes him technically the son of Hank Pym. So he's viable for this list, okay? But since he's a robot, I'm putting him at the top, don't worry, that's why he's here. But with this, Ultron's sentience began to constantly evolve, and he started the eradication of the human race by taking out such threats as the Avengers and the Defenders while he left Pym alive to just watch everyone suffer. Ultron and his army of Ultron Sentinels then moved to Kola, Russia, so he could bore himself into the planet's core to create the ultimate version of himself, Ultron 1320. Ultron then had his minions batter and beat Pym unconscious until he woke up to find himself turned into Ultron 1321. This version also invaded other worlds, claiming Earth 62412, 23223, and 81223, but before being stopped on Earth 45162. That's a lot of numbers. And at 9, Wiccan. Billy Kaplan, also known by his superhero aliases Asgardian and Wiccan, is a superpowered warlock and the reincarnated son of the Scarlet Witch. He has spent time on numerous superhero teams, including the Young Avengers and the New Avengers, and after Wiccan's powers overloaded during a battle with the Sons of the Serpent, the Avengers decided to keep him under observation. Hulkling and the other Young Avengers broke Wiccan out of holding and began to search for the Scarlet Witch. Accompanied by Magneto and Quicksilver, the team traveled to Transia and then to Latveria before discovering a depowered and amnesiac Wanda engaged to Doctor Doom. The rediscovery of Wanda did not go unnoticed though, as the Avengers soon arrived on the scene. Iron Lad teleported the Young Avengers and Wanda into the time stream, and they all went into the past and met a reanimated Jack of Hearts who was about to explode. After that, Wanda remembered who she was, regained her powers, and returned herself, the Young Avengers, and Scott Lang to the present. She then finally confirmed that Billy and Tommy were indeed her reincarnated sons, a story that seemingly will be adapted into the MCU come Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. In at 8, Hulkling. Teddy was one of the first people in the Avengers failsafe program, compiled by the Vision to be used as a form of new team of superheroes in the event of the destruction or the disbandment of the Avengers. Iron Lad, a younger version of Kang the Conqueror, found Teddy using the Vision's failsafe program and requested his help in preventing his future self from returning to the future. Teddy joined the Young Avengers and adopted the superhero identity of the Hulkling, despite actually being the son of Captain Marvel. He only took on the Hulkling identity to help keep in the theme of the Young Avengers being new versions of the original Avengers, using his powers to change his skin color to green. As well as these shape-shifting abilities comes the powers of flight, a healing factor, as well as superhuman stamina, durability, and strength. He also gains the ability of matter substitution when he and his husband Wiccan end up using their wedding rings together, which is kind of adorable, and goals. And at 7, Scotty Summers. Hailing from Earth 1298, Scotty is Alex Summers and Madeline Pryor's son. Scotty, as he came to be known, was born to the mutant superhero Havoc and his then girlfriend Madeline. Sometime after his birth, his mom and dad got married and they moved in with the reformed X-Factor. As a child, he showed no signs of exceptional power and enjoyed a normal life until the Inferno event. During Inferno, he was captured by a couple demons who planned to use him as a sacrifice to open up the world to the malevolent Goblin Force. Alone and afraid, he was rescued by his mother Madeline, who brokered a deal with the demons in exchange for her son's life. He returned home with her, and the demons and the nightmare it seemed were over. But when Havoc of Earth 616 wound up in his counterpart in the Mutant X's reality's dead body, Scott immediately recognized that this Havoc was not truly his father. This was the first hint at the scope of young Scotty's power. When his mother was possessed by the Goblin Queen, Scotty was also taken by his father and their nanny, the ninja assassin Elektra. The three became like a family themselves, and Scotty even bonded with his new father. Eventually, Scotty during the battle was captured along with Havoc by the evil entity, but he knew that he was in the right place at the right time, and incidentally knew exactly what to do to end the fight. With a simple touch, he managed to defeat the Goblin Queen, who was possessing his mother at the time. But yeah, it's pretty overpowered. I guess you could say that Scotty doesn't know about his powers. And at 6, Vision. The MCU Vision is in essence the son of Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, Ultron, and Thor, which is honestly a really weird combination. Or if you want to get more technical, I guess Thor and Ultron are closer to his parents, with like Tony and Bruce basically being his grandparents, aside from the whole using Jarvis to make Vision thing. So I guess technically, by that logic, Tony is also Vision's father and grandfather. What? Either way, powered by an advanced AI and the Mind Stone, Vision is probably one of the most powerful Avengers Avengers until he was killed in Infinity War at the hands of Wanda and then Thanos, which was a stupid idea as we saw thanks to Ultron Z's with Thanos in the What If series on Disney+, where using the Mind Stone, Ultron just literally tore Thanos in half. Which is probably what Vision could have done, resulting in one of the most frustrating moments of the entire MCU to me. But oh well, what are you gonna do? But yeah, I think that with the Mind Stone he is certainly powerful, but his reluctance to use it to kill Thanos puts him higher on the list, as well as, you know, the whole being mostly dead thing.
Number 5. Ghost Rider. While Starbrand might have the greatest potential for power, and we aren't sure entirely what she's capable of just yet, Robbie Reyes is a bit more experienced when it comes to his powers. And even when he was less experienced, he actually accidentally killed one of the previous Starbrands, Kevin Connor, in Marvel Legacy. So for those reasons, I thought we should give him a bit of a boost when it comes to his ranking on this list. Robbie Reyes first appeared in the comic scene in 2014 in all-new Ghost Rider issue number 1. He is an all-new Ghost Rider, just like the series claims. During a street race gone wrong, Robbie was killed and ended up possessed by the ghost who haunted the car that he was driving, becoming the new Ghost Rider. He joined up with the Avengers recently in the comics, and I think he makes a great addition to the team. I personally love Robbie Reyes, so yeah, I'm here for it. Number 4. Winter Hulk. While Jennifer Walters as She-Hulk may have joined the Avengers long ago, first joining up back in the 80s, she has gone through a lot of changes since then. One recent and major one, which also returned her to her smaller, smarter, more playful and sassy, yet still very powerful form, happened recently in Avengers comics. For a brief time, She-Hulk, then known as just Hulk, ended up becoming Winter Hulk. Winter Hulk happened as a result of Jen allowing herself to be kidnapped by the Winter Guard of Russia to try and figure out what they were up to. What devious things are they planning? In the end, they attempted to mind wipe and brainwash Hulk to turn her into one of their agents. And they kinda succeeded. Although the process was interrupted, for a brief time Jen acted as their agent, Winter Hulk. However, as Winter Hulk, Jen still managed to fight against her programming, and alert her fellow Avengers when sent to attack Namor and Atlantis. In the end, Winter Hulk was forced to absorb a ton of radiation to protect the citizens of Atlantis. She managed to discharge the gamma radiation she had absorbed safely, and as a result was returned to her original form, ultimately deciding to retire from the Avengers team after these events and return to practicing law. And now we have a new She-Hulk series that I have heard nothing but good things about. I really need to get reading my first issue. Number 3. Phoenix. While Phoenix is definitely one of the most powerful superheroes to be on the Avengers team, her history with them is a bit more lengthy than you might initially think, which is why I ranked her a little bit lower on this list than I normally would. Phoenix herself was back on the original Avengers team, the prehistoric Avengers, or the Avengers of 1 million BC. This avatar for Phoenix was known as Firehair. However, Firehair only made her first appearance even in 2017 in the comics, so she's also kinda new in a way, even though she's super old. Does that make sense? Maya Lopez, aka Echo, is the current host of the Phoenix Force and the current Phoenix, who also finds herself on the Avengers team. Her being Phoenix is new, but her being on the Avengers team is not new. She rejoined the team in 2021 as Phoenix, which is quite new, like I said, but she actually was a member of the Avengers way back in 2005, when she was using the mantle of Ronin. Still, Maya being Phoenix and being part of the Avengers altogether is quite fresh right now, despite both the Phoenix Force's history with the prehistoric team and Maya's own history with the present day team. And of course, Phoenix is one of the most powerful entities in the entire Marvel universe. So despite her being kind of a new old combo thing, we have to show respect to the blazingly brilliant and powerful Maya Lopez, aka Echo, aka Phoenix, on this list. Number 2. Cable. Nathan Summers ended up joining the Avengers team at a time when Captain America was seeking to present a show of unity. Hence, Cable ended up being on the Avengers Unity division, which was meant to bring together Avengers and X-Men after events of Avengers vs. X-Men had created tension between the two superhero groups of Earth. Series-wise, the team was known as the Uncanny Avengers, Avengers, with Cable joining up as early as issue number 4. Cable is an extremely powerful telepath and telekinetic due to him being the offspring of X-Men member Cyclops and his wife at the time, Mr. Sinister created clone of Jean Grey, Madeline Pryor. Despite Maddie being his birth mother, Jean has also been like a mother to Nate after she was implanted with the memories of basically raising him, making her kind of like his telepathically retcon mom, with Maddie becoming more like a surrogate mother in terms of her relationship with Nate, formerly known to her as Baby Christopher. Oh, baby Christopher. Number 1. Avenger Prime. Avenger Prime is kinda like all of the Avengers merged together. At least, that's what the original version of this character was like. They made their first appearance in the 2013 Mighty Avengers series, but another character with that name also recently reappeared in the 2021 Free Comic Book Day Avengers and Hulk comic. They showed up in the Avengers portion of that double feature story comic. Here, Avengers Prime is the leader of the Deathlock Avengers forces, who basically stands guard at the God Quarry, seeking to watch, protect, and warn against major multiversal threats and potential chronal collapses. Presumably, this is some version of Avenger Prime that decided to stay omnipotent and bonded together. At least that's what I'm assuming. Some people are assuming different things. When we saw Avenger Prime last, or an alternate version of them if you will, they were created using a ritual which allowed the team of Mighty Avengers to bond together. Technically, Avenger Prime stands to be the most powerful of the Avengers, as they should be made up of one or more teams or rosters potentially combined together. Now, of course, some people believe that Avenger Prime is actually some sort of alternate version or some future version of Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, but we don't really know for sure yet. Whoever they are though, they definitely seem to have a lot of time, a lot of power, and a lot of resources on their hands, especially for being a shadowy figure.
In at number 10, Deadpool. With the merger between Disney and Fox, there have been tons of rumors surrounding the members of the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and even the Merc with a mouth coming over to the new Avengers. The most likely is Deadpool. He has a history with the Avengers, and the only thing that Disney executives have to work out is translating the R-rated star into the more family-friendly audience of the MCU. According to online rumors, Deadpool is set to appear in the end credits scene of Black Widow, spoiler alert, and therefore will be joining the new team of Avengers very soon. We are still waiting on Kevin Feige to confirm, but he did note that the movie is happening with a whole new lineup of Avengers, which is pretty exciting. And it's actually even more exciting news that we'll continue to speculate on throughout the rest of this list. In at number 9, Hulkling. Word on the street is that Marvel is casting for Teddy Altman, aka Hulkling, for an upcoming project that we can only hope is the new Avengers team. Based on a report from Geeks Worldwide, this young Avenger should be joining the cast of WandaVision at some point. The other reason why there is good speculation for Hulkling to be joining the new Avengers in regards to the MCU is the upcoming release of the new Avengers Empire comic. In the comic, Hulkling will lead as the star coming to end the beef between his people, the Kree, and the Skrulls. The fact that this comic book release date is lining up so perfectly with an intro to the MCU means we are hopeful that Teddy will finally get his shot. In at number 8, Songbird. Her real name is Melissa Gold. She was a troubled runaway from an alcoholic father and a mother that was locked in prison. Due to her needing to survive on the streets, Melissa developed a hard edge to her personality that she would later use to her advantage when becoming a professional wrestler, the Screaming Mimi. Her transition to the new Avengers was a bit of a bumpy road to say the least. Under the supervision of John Garrett, Songbird infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. as a double agent. When her cover was finally blown though, she admitted her betrayal and thus became a triple agent after siding with Bobby DaCosta. Still a good member to the new Avengers. In at number 7, Squirrel Girl. Her real name is Doreen Green, and whether you like it or not, she is a valued member of the new Avengers. Moving away from the MCU for a moment, Squirrel Girl undoubtedly has a big fan base and has proved her worth many times. She is a former member of the Great Lakes Avengers, and when Luke Cage and Jessica Jones needed a babysitter, they hired her. I mean, bit of a slap in the face considering all that she has done in the comic books, but hey, she's still considered to be a new Avenger team member. In at number 6, Enigma. Also known as Pod and now Pod 2, Jokinen was an ethnically Finnish Norwegian girl. Due to her proximity of the Pod system armor crash landing, she was bonded to the suit and remained in a cocoon that was later discovered by the Advanced Idea Mechanics, or AIM for short. At first she quickly defeated the Avengers, but soon she was captured by them before Bobby DaCosta took over AIM. Over time and after some successful missions, Pod would become Sunspot's bodyguard and member of the new Avengers. Dr. Tony Ho, whom Amanda mentioned on the first part, became increasingly fascinated with Pod and even started to fall in love with the person inside of that armor. How sweet.
Number 5. All new, all different Avengers. This was both its own new team of Avengers in a series, as well as being known as the name for kind of an entire Marvel-verse soft relaunch, including a variety of spin-offs that took place in 2015, known as the all new, all different verse. This relaunch included a variety of series, including one of my faves, All New Wolverine. But for the purpose of this list, we'll be talking about the all new, all different Avengers founding team and the individual comic series itself that was about them. Following Secret Wars, this all new, all different Avengers team was formed. Originally, it was comprised of Iron Man, Sam Wilson, who was Captain America at the time, Miss Marvel, aka Kamala Khan, Miles Morales as Spider-Man, young Sam Alexander as Nova, Vision, and Jane Foster's Thor. Iron Man would act as their leader, but this team wouldn't even officially refer to themselves as Avengers until the very end of issue number 3 of their series. This was a refresh on the Avenger team, one that had no tower, no funding, and wasn't officially even recognized yet. Over time, they would become more established, but the all new, all different team would only exist as it was for 15 issues, up until the events of Civil War II. Number 4. A-Force. The first all-female team of Avengers. It took us over 50 years, but eventually we got there. This team had 2 self-titled comic series, though sadly both were very short. The team was originally led by She-Hulk, and its members would include Captain Marvel, Medusa, Singularity, Dazzler, and Nico Minoru. A-Force originally took their name from the name for the defenders of the matriarchal nation of Arcadia on Battleworld, where She-Hulk reigned as a baroness. The team was created during the Secret Wars event involving Emperor Doom's Battleworld, and would continue to exist up until the events of Civil War II, when She-Hulk was put into a coma. It's kinda how that whole thing starts. Well, it's part of the start anyways. Number 3. The US Avengers. The US Avengers is a strange and eclectic team, but also a fun and patriotic one. They worked alongside S.H.I.E.L.D. but were also considered independent of the organization. This team actually coincided with another Avenger-related one that I mentioned earlier, Avengers Idea Mechanics, the new AIM. Sunspot, who was operating under the popular alias of Citizen 5, led and created this team. It was comprised of a quirky yet popular group of heroes, including Robert Maverick's Red Hulk, Cannonball, Tony Ho's Iron Patriot, Squirrel Girl, Pod, and the time-displaced daughter of Luke Cage and Jessica Jones from an alternate future known as Danielle Cage, aka her alternate universe's Captain America. I love Danielle Cage, she's pretty cool. Number 2. Occupy Avengers. I almost said Octopus Avengers, which is not a thing. But maybe it should be a thing, I don't know, they could be a team, they're all octopuses. This series and Avengers spin-off was a small one. It consisted mainly of Hawkeye and followed his adventures on a path for redemption following the events of Civil War II. Let's not forget that it was Hawkeye's arrow that was deemed responsible for the death of Bruce Banner, although Banner had asked that Hawkeye mercy kill him should it be necessary. Although he was acquitted of all murder charges, Hawkeye still felt guilty and sought to make things right. His way of doing this? A more grassroots approach to heroism involving basically community outreach. Clint focused on more real-world problems that threatened people, like fixing up Santa Rosa, New Mexico's water supply. During the run of Occupy Avengers, Hawkeye would be joined by other heroes such as Red Wolf and Nightshade, who would join him on his quest. Number 1. Savage Avengers. This ruthless team of Avengers is basically one of the newest anti-hero Avenger teams to form, and is more anti-hero than our number 10 spot, the Dark Avengers, because all the members are still definitely the good guys, but are also known for being violent killers as well. This team was formed out of a team-up involving Wolverine and Conan the Barbarian. It consists of Elektra, Dr. Voodoo, formerly known as Brother Voodoo, Elektra, Punisher, and Venom. The team was assembled to combat the combined threat of spellcasters and spell traders from Conan's world and Marvel's main continuity evil secret ninja organization known as The Hand. Number 10. Dark Avengers. The Dark Avengers were first introduced in their own comic book series in Dark Avengers issue number 1. Not everyone is a fan of them, because while they're kind of Avengers, they're also kind of go against a lot of the things that the original team stood for. The Dark Avengers are led by Norman Osborn, who gets to make his own organization, Hammer, to safeguard the world's safety following the crumbling of S.H.I.E.L.D. and after his victory against the Skrull Queen, whose death was brought about by Osborn and was also televised, making him a worldwide hero in the eyes of many, despite the fact that, yeah, he was still definitely a villain. Still, although this team was comprised of villains, they did aim to do good things, just in their own way. In truth, they became more a team of anti-heroes than anything, with just a dash of villainous escapades organized by their leader, Osborn, who at this point went by Iron Patriot. sort of like the Iron Man of this Dark Avengers crew. Number 9. Avengers Academy. Avengers Academy was a series that replaced the Avengers The Initiative series. As that series ended, this one began. The Avengers Academy team was a group of superpowered youths who were selected to be trained as new Avengers. Although originally the teens thought that they had been selected due to the promise that they showed, it was later revealed that they had been selected because of the great risk that they would ultimately become villains. In fact, 6 of the teens were actually working for Norman Osborn during the Dark Avengers Hammer Dark Reign days, and likely could have ended up being trained by him to become Dark Avengers, should that whole situation have continued to play out. However, when the Avengers found out about them, they instead decided to create the Avengers Academy in an attempt to repurpose and redeem those youths. So basically took them in themselves. Hank Pym acted as the headmaster of this academy, while Tigra, Justice, Quicksilver, and Speedball took on roles as teachers. Number 8. Secret Avengers. This team operated for 3 years in the comics. It was led by Commander Steve Rogers and Sharon Carter. After the dissolution of Hammer and the Dark Avengers, Steve was now left to decide what should come after. Instead of reforming S.H.I.E.L.D. or the Avengers, he decided to secure global safety through the use of various smaller Avengers teams. Secret Avengers was one of those teams that he himself led, and was a black ops unit used for covertly dealing with the problems that Osborn, Hammer, and the Dark Avengers had left behind and created during their reign. Members included Black Widow, Ant-Man, Beast, Moon Knight, War Machine, Nova, and a Valkyrie named Brunhilde. They were eventually disbanded by Hawkeye following their fight against the Descendants. But man, was it a fun and weird run. Seriously, if you haven't checked out Secret Avengers, you should maybe do it. It's pretty strange. I kinda love it. Number 7. Mighty Avengers. Granted, there is more than one Mighty Avengers team, but for the purpose of this list, we're talking about Luke Cage's Mighty Avengers. This team of Avengers formed to look after the Earth after the main Avengers team was forced to roll out when the Builders threatened the entire universe. Yeah, that was a thing. Remember that? During the Avengers' absence, Thanos returned to Earth and the Mighty Avengers stepped in to protect their people and their planet. The team was led by Luke Cage and included such heroes as Spectrum, White Tiger, and Blue Marvel, as well as Superior Spider-Man, who at one point attempted to overtake leadership of the team, fighting Luke Cage for it. Number 6. AIM. I know what you're thinking. AIM? Wait, but what? AIM was originally the villainous organization of genius-level scientists, also known as Advanced Idea Mechanics, who aimed, get it, aimed, to overthrow the government and rule the world using technological advancements. So what are you talking about, Amanda? How can they be an Avengers team? Well, this organization eventually was taken over by mutant and hero Sunspot, Roberto da Costa. Sunspot renamed the organization Avengers Idea Mechanics and set out to reclaim and reform it. He used the organization for good, filling it with more noble, brilliant minds who developed tech to help with Sunspot's new Avengers rescue missions. Roberto basically merged his new Avengers team with AIM to create this new technologically advanced Avengers team. Previously, that new Avengers team was actually known as the Multiversal Avengers, and originally they were all about discovering the reason behind the gradual disintegration of the multiverse.
Halfway through into number 5, Groot. Okay, so this is a pretty weird one, I have to admit. But technically speaking, baby Groot is the offspring of Groot. And while yes, he is also just Groot, baby and teen Groot are younger versions of Groot, and that's basically what a child is. Just a younger version of yourself. And while this may have been a asexually produced offspring, so what? This counts in my book. And while you may consider Groot a guardian of the galaxy and not an Avenger, he served as an Avenger for a time in both the comics and in the MCU. So you can back off, boy, okay? This is a very meta number, I know, but we've included clones on lists like these before. This is close enough, it's fine with me. Kids are basically clones, we've talked about actual clones, so deal with it. And at 4, Sarah Rogers. In an alternate world where the heroes and villains assembled for the Secret Wars never left Battle World, the location of the conflict, the combatants called a truce and settled down to raise families. Sarah Rogers was actually the daughter of Steve Rogers, Captain America, and the X-Men Rogue. In this reality, Rogue was referred to as Carol, indicating that the stolen psyche of the Avenger Carol Danvers was in control of Rogue's body, and given Sarah's existence, had learned to control Rogue's powers enough to conceive a child. Malefactor Vincent Von Doom, the son of Dr. Doom, tried to take over the battle world and return to Earth, in order to follow in his father's footsteps and conquer it, because of course. But Sarah led her fellow young heroes to stop Vincent, and along the way grabbed Mjolnir, proving her worthiness to wield the enchanted hammer. So, as a kid, yeah, you're on the list, don't worry. And at 3, Hulk Gang. The Hulk gang is a gang of hillbilly Hulks who are the result of Hulk impregnating his first cousin's She-Hulk, though not willingly, might I add. Most of the Hulk gang members though are grandchildren of Bruce Banner, who have become run-of-the-mill thugs, beating or killing people when they don't pay their rent on time. When the Hulk gang found Logan and he didn't have his money to pay the rent for his farm, its members Bobby Joe, Charlie, and Otis Banner paid a visit to him and punished him for missing a payment. Shortly before leaving though, they said that he had to pay double next month, otherwise they would kill him and his family. However, while Logan was away delivering a package with Hawkeye to get the money that he actually owed them, the Hulk gang got bored and murdered his family. Once Logan returned home and learned about what happened in his absence from his neighbor Abraham, he went after the Hulk gang and killed all of the members that he actually encountered, including Bobby Joe, Charlie, Otis, Rufus, Woody, Bo, Elrod, Eustace, and Luke Banner. So attaboy Logan. But ultimately, in at number 2, Vivian Vision. Viv was a synthezoid created by the Vision in his process to humanize himself through the creation of a family. The brainwaves of Viv and her twin brother Vin come from the combination of the brain patterns of Vision and Virginia, Viv and Vin's mother and Vision's wife. The Visions moved to Arlington, Virginia in order to facilitate Vision becoming the Avengers' White House liaison, but I also kind of find that funny. Vision, Virginia, Viv, and Vin moved to Virginia. Come on. The family though became instant celebrities with their neighbors, constantly seeking pictures and then them posting them online. This caught the attention of Eric Williams, who became upset that Vision would create a family that appeared to be happy, when the Williams family wasn't, which, I mean, like, what? That's like getting mad at an Instagram model for faking her life. As well as the fact that the Vision's brainwaves were taken from his brother Simon in the first place. Both Viv and Finn attended school at the Alexander Hamilton High School in Fairfax, but they were assigned different schedules to help them assimilate with their classmates. Considering how I previously said that Ultron assimilated a whole load of robots, you kinda have to admit the word assimilate their classmates is kinda setting off a few red flags here. And finally, in at number 1, Lyra. The daughter of Thundra, the Empress of the United Sisterhood, and the Incredible Hulk on Earth 8009, Lyra was gifted with the strength of her parents and trained as an elite warrior for the Sisterhood in their fight against men. But, unlike the other Gamma mutants, Lyra secretly grew weaker the angrier she got. Lyra was called by the Gynosure to head a secret mission, one not even her select band of warrior compatriots were aware of. The Sisterhood's cradle was malfunctioning, causing defective births, and without a replacement circuitry, it would be the end of the Sisterhood's ability to replenish their numbers, eventually leading to their extinction. Lyra was armed with Boudica, a wristwatch with an artificial intelligence linked to both the Sisterhood and Gynosure at all times, and sent to the men's cradle to steal the appropriate parts to repair their own cradle. When a traitor turned on Lyra at the request of the Gynosure, the replacement parts were destroyed in their fight. Lyra returned to Gynosure to confront her for her treachery, but was then sent to Earth 616 to seek out the great Norman Osborn and breed with him. Man, Norman Osborn, man. Every time.
Number 10, Hunter Prince. Hunter is the son of Wonder Woman from an alternate timeline. He first appeared in the 2016 Justice League story arc called Legacy. It's a 6-part story starting in issue 26 that allows us to meet the children of some of the original team from an alternate timeline. Hunter himself appears to be armed with his mother's lasso of truth, her bracelets of submission, and her razor-sharp tiara. Hunter was adopted and raised by the Kents, growing up alongside Superman and Lois' son, John Kent. Number 9, Aqua Baby. Arthur Curry Jr. is also known as Aqua Baby and is the main continuity child of both Queen Mara and King Aquaman. Or he was anyways. He went on a few adventures with his parents but was tragically kidnapped by Black Manta and suffocated to death before either of his parents could save him. Due to the fact that he was Atlantean, Aqua Baby was unable to breathe out of water for a prolonged period of time. The death of baby Arthur is what drove a wedge between his parents, eventually causing them to separate. Though Arthur and Mara seem to be once again getting hitched, so perhaps we will also see a return of Aqua Baby, or more likely some other version of the character reintroduced to us. And before we move on to our number 8 spot, I just wanted to say thank you for watching, and if you want to help us out at the channel, you can do so by giving this video a thumbs up. It really does help. Number 8, Hyperman. Hyperman is the son of Superman and Wonder Woman from the alternate reality of Kingdom Come. He is also raised in part by Batman, who is basically like his godfather until he was kidnapped kidnapped and spirited away. After the heroes rescued him, the child seemingly disappeared, but we would later learn this is because he was actually raised by an older version of himself who resides within Hypertime. Young Jonathan Kent, as fate would have it, was destined to become the guardian of Hypertime, which pretty much means he was considered powerful and important enough to be the guardian of the pathways of the multiverse. Or the pathways to the multiverse, you know, lots of spacey stuff, lots of spacey Grant Morrison stuff.
Number 7. Jo Malane's Green Lantern. Sojourner Malane was granted a Green Lantern ring after she was unceremoniously fired from the New York City police force. She became the Green Lantern of an unnumbered sector, with her first main job being in the City Enduring, an alien planet city inhabited by 3 previously warring races. She's tasked with solving the city's first murder in 500 years. It's pretty serious. Jo's ring recharges over time instead of requiring a battery, which, as a trade-off, makes it a bit weaker. It's still a Green Lantern ring though, so she ain't someone to mess with. This non-reliance also proves really useful when the central power battery explodes at a Green Lantern meeting Jo was running late to, taking out a bunch of lanterns and depowering a whole heck of a lot more of them. She took charge here like a true hero should. She has been teased to be taking over the role of Green Lantern. Obviously. Number 6. Jackson Hyde's Aquaman. Jackson Hyde is actually the son of one of Aquaman's main villains, Black Manta. But luckily, he fights for justice, hence being part of this video. As Aqualad, with his hydrokinesis and Atlantean powers, he has been a part of the Teen Titans, Young Justice, and has fought alongside Aquaman against his own father, and has even temporarily stepped into the mantle of Aquaman in one of his major story arcs. He has proven himself capable, if not a little undisciplined, and he, alongside Jo Malane, Jace Fox, Yara Flor, and John Kent, was part of the alternate Justice League in Future State, so we know he has the means to take over the role. Just like the last two, he is poised to take over the position of Aquaman, allegedly, in the upcoming Justice League.
Number 5. Warhawk. Warhawk is the future son of Green Lantern John Stewart and Hawkgirl from the dceu, DC Animated Universe. He first appeared in the animated series Batman Beyond and was created by Paul Dini and Alan Burnett. Warhawk's real name is Rex Stewart, and he was named after one of John's friends from the military, Rex Mason, who would later become the Element Man, Metamorpho, in the DCAU. In an alternate timeline, Warhawk is shown to have teamed up with Static and future Batman Terry McGinnis, as well as old Bruce Wayne. Number 4. Cruz. The crazy thing about Nora Allen is that she isn't even the only child to come from these two League members. Nora Allen is part of the Justice League Legacy team, which Hunter Prince is also a part of from an alternate timeline, which Hunter Prince and Serenity of course are also part of from an alternate timeline. She is the daughter of Green Lantern Jessica Cruz and Barry Allen, aka The Flash. It's kind of a strange pairing, but definitely an interesting one, and one that's sort of been foreshadowed before, but I always just think of Iris, so that's just me. Nora and Hunter also appear to be in a romantic relationship in the Legacy story in which they both appear. Nora can tap into the Speed Force but does not seem to possess a Green Lantern ring like her mother. Number 3. Fury. Originally, Hippolyta Trevor was known to be the daughter of Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor, born from their marriage and first appearing in Wonder Woman issue 300. Weirdly enough, one of the first interactions we see with her and her mother is her training with a giant metal ball and asking for advice from another version of Wonder Woman, who is also joining Diana and Steve for dinner and is currently the main continuity Wonder Woman. The Wonder Woman that is Lita's mother is from Earth 2, the original Wonder Woman in terms of comic continuity. I also love older Wonder Woman in this with her like gray streak in her hair. So cool. Steve Trevor looks creepy though. He's got a creepy face. He's like, I'm 60 now. Why do you look so creepy, Steve Trevor? Why? Number 2. Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne is the very stubborn son of Batman and sometimes ally, but mostly villain, Talia al Ghul. Damian spent his formative years growing up with his mother, and as such was a trained and egotistical killer and jerk when he was dropped on Bruce's doorstep. However, over time he has learned restraint and discipline and has worked to earn the pride he initially felt as being the son of Batman. While Batman has many children technically, as in a way most of his Robins are kinda like his foster kids, Damian covets the title of the son of Batman, being his naturally born heir. Number 1. John Kent, or Superboy. But of course, there are just so many Superboys, I feel like calling him John is a little less confusing, though as you've already seen, there are also many versions even of Jonathan Kent as well. We already had another one on this list. This version is kind of the son of Superman and Lois though. He was born during Convergence, and he as a baby and his parents later ended up living on a different Earth than the one that they originally inhabited because of the New 52 reset. As there were already a version of Superman and Lois Lane on this Earth, they decided to go undercover to avoid getting in the way and adopted the surname White for a time. They were the Whites. John grew up relatively normally but was always somewhat suspicious of his parents' activities. Eventually, the cat was out of the bag when John's powers manifested, and his parents told him the truth about who they really were. The cat wasn't just out of the bag though, the household cat was also accidentally killed by John's heat vision. So yes.
And at 10, Atomica. After Earth 3 was destroyed by a mysterious force, Atomica is able to escape to Earth Prime. Atomica intended to join the Justice League, and got into their ranks by defusing a bomb planted by the Atlanteans in their war against the surface world. Atomica was recruited into the Justice League as the Atom, but she actually had a secret agenda. She was preparing to rescue the crime syndicate. She used her hacking skills to detect the presence of a virus contained inside the body of Victor Stone, and planned on using it in her mission. When the Justice League and Justice League Dark fought in Kahndaq over Pandora's box, Atomica revealed her true motives and used the virus she discovered to shift Victor's cyborg parts away from him and make them form the grid. Pandora's box was then opened and revealed to be a portal that the crime syndicate was able to use to come to Earth Prime. Then they invaded the Earth, and everyone was trapped in the Firestorm Matrix, so yeah. And at 9, Element Woman. Emily Sung can transmute her body into different compounds, gaining her powers under unknown circumstances. And when the League was said to be defeated during the war between America and Atlantis, Cyborg recruited a group of metahumans who would be useful. Element Woman was one of them. During the meeting that came after, the Big Seven agreed that there was nobody else like Element Woman and that she was going to be very useful, so they recruited her along with Atomica and Firestorm. When the crime syndicate invaded Earth Prime, she was trapped inside the Firestorm Matrix along with the other heroes. When she was released along with everyone else, her powers had interacted in a weird way with firestorms, and she was teleported a random distance away. The ordeal left her scarred, and it didn't help when the members of the League didn't come looking for her. And at 8, Mira. Mira joined as a temporary replacement for Aquaman. The Crown of Thorns, a massive magical barrier, had been placed around Atlantis, trapping Aquaman. And after a battle with the League about breaking it down, Batman had offered that she join. During her time with the League, she had several adventures on the surface world. She was in the battle with Shirak and faced the time-displaced descendants of the League. This caused her to meet with a possible daughter from the future named Serenity. She joined in Justice League Volume 3 number 24 and still remains active to this day. She has helped the League several times since then, and the League has helped her in return. Typically not all at once, just a couple of members, like when she called on Superman and Wonder Woman to help hold the villain known as Eel hostage because she was sick and couldn't do it with her powers.
Number 7. Serenity. Serenity is the daughter of Aquaman and Mera in the alternate timeline that is explored in Justice League's Legacy story arc. We learn that although she was close to and loved her mother, she has a much strained relationship with her father, who also appears as a villain opposing the Legacy team of heroes. Eldris Curry's outfit seems to be inspired by both her father and mother and her Atlantean heritage. She also has been shown to possess super strength, teleportation, and water manipulation powers. Number 6. Connor Hawke. Green Arrow has had quite a few kids, even just in the main continuity. One of the most famous, however, is Connor Hawke, his natural-born son by his girlfriend Sandra Moonday Hawke. Connor would grow up to become the second Green Arrow following the apparent death of his father. His mother raised him by herself, teaching him about who his father was and telling him that she did love his father dearly. Connor first met his father when he was studying at the Ashram Monastery, the same monastery he knew his father had retreated to years ago. Oliver once more was doing just that and visited the monastery again after Black Canary had broken up with him. The adventure these two ended up going on didn't end so well though, as Green Arrow was made aware of Connor's true identity and connection to him before Connor had found the right time to confess that he was his son. Yikes. Shortly thereafter, Green Arrow died and Connor took up his father's mantle, becoming friends with the new Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, just like his dad was friends with Hal Jordan. It's so cute.
Number 5. Yara Flor's Wonder Woman. Ayla was an Amazonian who left Themyscira and settled in Brazil, where she fell in love with a Brazilian river deity. You know, like you do. The child these two would create became the Amazonian Brazilian demigod Yara Flor. Living in an Amazonian village, they were attacked by agents of the Greek gods, and Ayla lost her life. But Yara was taken to Idaho by a woman named Renata. who became her adopted mother. After her return to Brazil, she gets magical golden boleadoras, meets a human she hits it off with, is stabbed with an arrow by Eros, who she falls in love with, and is taken to Mount Olympus, where she is trained, given gifts, and gets a Pegasus named Jerry. Nice. She's offered the role of becoming Hera's champion, but after learning of her true origins, she refuses, and after a lot of scuffling, she brings some Amazons to defeat those responsible for the de-lifing of her own mother. She has become Wonder Girl, and was Wonder Woman in that future state Justice League I keep talking about to defend my reason for putting these characters on this list. It'll be cool to see her actually step into the role of Wonder Woman, if that's what happens. Number 4, John Kent. And last, but extremely not the least, apparently, stepping into the role of Superman in the Justice League will be none other than his own son, Jonathan Samuel Kent. Look, it just makes sense. John obviously was a member of the League's reserves before this point, but taking over the role of his father would be a big step up if it is ultimately what comes to pass. The son of Clark and Lois Lane, Jonathan began fighting crime at the age of 10. John possesses all the same powers as his father, plus a solar radiation explosion thing that isn't really under his control. According to Batman, he actually has the potential to surpass his father's power levels thanks to his half-human physiology, which kind of makes no sense to me, but whatever. Jonathan actually became Superman when his father left Earth to go to War World, so he has had a bit of experience, which will hopefully help him if he does become the new Superman of the Justice League next month. And that covers every one of the characters teased to take over the respective roles in the League. A few of these characters are part of the future Justice League, so it remains to be seen what role exactly these few will play, and I may have doomed myself to be roasted in the comments, so there's that. Number 3, Hippolyta, or however you want to say it. Queen of Themyscira, she takes over the role of Wonder Woman in the Justice League in the Infinite Frontier storyline. Now, Diana isn't perished. Well, she is now, but not when her mother took over in the Justice League. Diana had ascended after defeating the Darkest Night, and with Hippolyta having dubbed Nubia as the newest ruler of Themyscira, she was pretty free to take on the role in the Justice League. It's interesting to see her interact with Aquaman, and the small amount of time her and the number 1 spot got to work together was also rather interesting. As an Amazonian, she possesses pretty much all the same powers as her daughter, just better because, you know, she's been around longer. Unfortunately, this whole thing didn't last very long with the whole death of the Justice League thing. Number 2, Naomi McDuffie. Joining the team just after our number 1 spot in Justice League Volume 4, number 63, Naomi McDuffie is a teenage energy-based hero who was actually sent to the Prime Earth from an alternate reality to be spared from this really crazy villain, Zumbado, who rules over her native Earth. While her powers are unstable and she hasn't quite learned a complete control over them yet, Powerhouse's powers are confirmed to be Omega level in nature, so that's enough to put her pretty high on this list. She basically transforms into a golden armored superpowered form, which gives her a kind of energy projection that she uses to enhance her punches, making them very super indeed, and she also uses them to fire energy blasts. Interestingly, Naomi can also augment magical powers, kind of opposite to how Superman is weakened by them. In her super form, she can fly and obviously has super strength and durability. Number 1, Black Adam? What? That's right. Joining the Justice League in Volume 4, number 60 of the team's self-titled comic, thanks to an invite from Superman, it's my second favorite Adam other than myself. Teth Adam was an unwilling laborer back in ancient Egypt who received power from the wizard Shazam, just like that other guy in red with a lightning bolt. What was his name again? I forget. Black Adam actually loses his life, and after his resurrection was no longer powered by the wizard. Instead, he gained his power from 6 Egyptian deities: Shu, Horus, Amun, Sehuti, Aten, and Mehen. Funny how they happen to still spell it Shazam though, huh? And he still shouts Shazam to activate his powers too, naturally. He also makes for quite a great leader, being the ruler of the African nation of Kondak. However, he hasn't traditionally been a great team player, and well, the whole supervillain anti-hero thing doesn't really help his case either. I'm just interested to see where this goes, to be perfectly honest. Number 10, the Wonder Twins. Look, they aren't really Justice League members, but they were interns, which is like part of the way there, right? Maybe. If you watched that video about weird DC Multiverse characters, then you know these two. The Wonder Twins are two alien siblings from the planet Exor who possess some interesting shape-changing powers. The sister Jaina has the ability to transform into any animal, which is a potentially very useful and powerful ability, and it's always pretty fun. The brother, on the other hand, Zan, is capable of turning into water in any of its states, so liquid, steam, or ice. Again, potentially pretty cool, but more often it's not though. And honestly, he always seems to play second fiddle to his sister anyways. The two were first introduced in Super Friends, where they were much more cheesy and did a whole lot of fist bumping. They still do, but it's sweet now. Number 9. Hawk Girl, a classic. After assisting in the defeat of Barbados and the Dark Knights, Kendra Saunders' Hawk Girl was recruited to join the new Justice League as Hawk Girl, a core member of the team. Nice. While not a totally new character, she did have a fight with Barbados, and that gave her this new nth metal fusion power. This gives her nth metal psychoreactive wings that look totally awesome. They can slice through flesh and are able to completely heal all by themselves. She has been reincarnated so many times and has so much experience that she makes an extremely effective and powerful member of the Justice League. As well as her cool new wings, Kendra also has several powers including enhanced strength, enhanced durability, enhanced vision, accelerated healing, self-sustenance, and has been taught telepathic resistance by Martian Manhunter. Unfortunately, she was one of those members of the League affected by the death of the Justice League thing. But that leads us directly into the next 5 points, so that's good. Number 8. Jace Fox's Batman. Okay, yes, I'm structuring this a little differently. So after the death of the Justice League, 5 legacy characters have been teased to be stepping up into the mantles of their predecessors. Timothy Jace Fox seems to be the one stepping into the role of Batman. First appearing in Dark Knight's Death Metal number 7 last year, he actually took on the role of Batman after Gotham became a police state ruled by the Magistrate, who hunted down masked characters, and Batman seemingly met his demise. That's Bruce Wayne Batman. Jace wears a batsuit very similar to the classic, only with a full face covering. In the art for the new Dark Crisis coming out next month, he seems to just have a regular cowl though. He has created a new bat symbol and has teamed up with Jason Todd Nightwing. He also hums to himself while fighting criminals, which is kinda cute, honestly.
And at 7, Simon Baz. Simon Baz was strapped for cash, so after giving up street racing he started stealing cars. Eventually he stole a car filled with explosives and ended up getting arrested and presumed to be an enemy of the state. He was deported to Guantanamo Bay where he was nearly tortured despite his plea of innocence. That's the moment a Green Lantern ring burst into the room, deeming him worthy and removing him from the facility. After disappearing, the League found him and he restated his innocence, even allowing Wonder Woman to golden lasso him. But the ring he had used to belong to Sinestro and Hal Jordan, so it reacted violently to the contact and he fled in fear. He joined the League in Justice League of America Volume 3 number 5 as a reserve member to be called upon when the time is needed, and he is the partner in Anti-Crime too, and at number 6, Jessica Cruz. After stumbling upon mobsters hiding a body and the murder of her friends, Jessica Cruz developed a debilitating anxiety and locked herself in a room for 4 years. During the crime syndicate's invasion, she was chosen by the Ring of Volthoom, after its owner Harold Jordan of Earth 3 was killed by Sinestro. The ring forced itself upon Jessica and took over her body and mind. Under the influence of the ring, she attacked her hometown and fought the Justice League and Doom Patrol. After Batman intervened, she was able to gain control of herself and overcome the influence of the ring. He told her that he was a victim as well, and that finding strength can overcome any fear. The Flash then called in Hal Jordan to teach Jessica how to stay in control of her ring, and under his tutelage she mastered the foreign ring. When Darkseid's daughter summoned Black Racer to kill the Flash, Jessica sacrificed herself to stop him, but in fact the entity inside the ring was the one who perished, crumbling the ring, but allowing her to become worthy of getting a new one, becoming a Green Lantern, and being assigned to work alongside Simon Baz by Hal Jordan. She joined in Justice League Volume 2 number 35 as Power Ring, then became a Green Lantern in issue number 50. Halfway through at number 5, Lobo. In DC Rebirth, Lobo was one of the villains set free by Maxwell Lord, returning him to his pre-New 52 persona. He was a part of the first Suicide Squad, but Batman eventually implants a bomb in Lobo's head and detonates it, knowing it will regenerate. When Lobo discovers that Batman did it to set him free of Max's control, he accepts Batman's offer to join a new incarnation of the Justice League to repay him. This causes him to be a founding member of the Second Justice League of America, along with Black Canary, Ray, and others. Lobo possesses strength comparable to that of Superman Superman, but this varies from writer to writer. Sometimes he's even shown as just slightly stronger than a human. His extreme durability varies as well, but he's always shown as a ruthless bounty hunter who will complete a contract once it's taken, unless he gets a counter contract for more money. Then he takes that, which is understandable and a great way to run a business. He would be on Forbes Top 100 for sure. And at 4, Ryan Choi. Ryan Choi is the teaching assistant to Ray Palmer, aka the Atom. Ryan ended up becoming a friend to Ray, where he would talk about his superhero escapades, and working alongside him had Ryan become just as proficient with the tech as Ray himself. When Ray became trapped in a remote location, he sends a message to Ryan asking him to lead the search for him. And when returning to the lab, Ryan runs into Batman and Lobo, who wanted to recruit Ray for the second Justice League of America. When Ryan says that Ray is missing, Batman leaves. But Lobo is so impressed with the equations that Ryan had written on the board that Batman recruits Ryan instead. After being recruited, Ryan travels to Oregon where he assists in the recruitment of the Ray, being another early member to join the Justice League of America too. Ryan is also considered a founding member. Ryan Choi was also introduced in the CW crossover for Crisis on Infinite Earths, and now it's been announced that Brandon Routh, the current CW Atom actor, is leaving the show but not by choice, so perhaps they're making way for another Atom since Brandon does play Ray and Ryan Choi is now here. And at 3, Killer Frost. The Rebirth version of Caitlin Snow seems remarkably similar to the CW version. This is probably where the show got the idea, especially when the first Killer Frost Rebirth comic starts off with "My name is Caitlin Snow." At some point before Rebirth started, she was captured and transported to Belle Reve, where she was forced to join the Suicide Squad. After reforming and saving the world from Eclipso, a cosmic entity representing the wrath of God, by absorbing a small amount of life force from all Justice League members and then blasting the hell out of Eclipso, get it? Because he's the wrath of God, so he's blasting the hell out of it. No? Okay, I'll stop. As I was saying, she defeated Eclipso and saved the world, so Batman released her on parole and recruited her for the Justice League of America 2. She defeated Eclipso in Justice League vs. Suicide Squad number 6 and joined the JLA 2 in Justice League of America Rebirth number 1, and is considered a founding member as well. Penultimately, at number 2, Starman. Will Payton was a 1980s superhero. He gained the abilities of flight, super strength, slight shape-shifting, altering appearance, and blasts of energy after being struck by a bolt of energy from a satellite. However, he had seemingly died fighting Eclipso. In the 1990s, it was revealed that his fate was not what it appeared. The bolt of energy that had given him his powers in the first place was revealed to be the essence of an alien prince named Gavin. Really? You're an alien prince, but your name is still Gavin? I don't care if it's spelled with a Y, come on. Who also went by the moniker Starman. A present-day version of Lex Luthor was pursuing him for his power's secrets, so he traveled back in time and captured Payton, bringing him back to the present and experimenting and torturing him. He gained crucial information that he then wiped from Will's memory. However, Will somehow managed to escape and found his way to that era's Justice League, joining them in Justice League Volume 4, number 14. Finally, in at number 1, Detective Chimp. The Justice League Dark Team was a first-wave title for the New 52. The team was supposed to be something emotionally darker, according to the creator Peter Milligan, who compared the characters to detectives who struggle to cope with the things they see and have to do. The story started off with the Enchantress's defeat of the Justice League, proving the necessity for a more supernatural team to assist in these kind of events. The team originally contained 17 members, but in DC Rebirth, the team was shortened to 7, including Man-Bat, Dr. Fate, Zatanna, Swamp Thing, John Constantine, Wonder Woman, the leader of the team, and Detective Chimp. I love that a monkey was able to become a Justice League member. Well, I mean, technically Justice League, but like, not really. Like, Justice League adjacent. Monkeys are my favorite animal anyway. There we have it, Nerd Squad, the top 10 newest Justice League members.